Well, hi everyone. It's so nice to see you. I just love at the beginning that we can always sort of see each other's faces. I think that is such a big deal these days. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Janet Barnes, and I am co-chair of the Global Walk Committee together with Candace Scrappick, and I'll be emceeing today. So on behalf of the committee and the Saskatoon Council on Aging, I'd like to welcome you here today to our Globe Walk March event. And we're so pleased that you're able to join us once again. So the Saskatoon Council on Aging is a community-based nonprofit organization that is dedicated to promoting positive aging for all in an age-friendly community. The SCOA office is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional territory of the First Nations and homeland of the Métis. So happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. And I see that many of you are wearing green today. I know I had to go digging, but I did find something. So it means the leprechauns won't be pinching you apparently because you can't be seen by them. So it's a good thing to wear green. So the Globe Walk is supported by the following sponsors, which include the Community Initiative Fund, Dakota Dunes Community Development Corporation, Sask Senior Fitness, Sask Lotteries, and Forever in Motion. So I now have the pleasure of introducing you to our very special guest today, Dr. Kathy Arnold. And I've had the pleasure of working with Kathy over a number of years. And we really appreciate her taking the time to present to us today. So Kathy is a professor and director at the School of Rehabilitation Science at the University of Saskatchewan. She is a licensed physical therapist in Saskatchewan since 1984 and has been on faculty at the U of S since 1997. Her research has spanned a range of topics related to fall prevention for older adults, including ways to assess risk and interventions to decrease fall risk and improve health, including aquatics, yoga, strength, and balance training. She works closely with the College of Kinesiology, examining reasons why injuries occur during forward falls. Kathy is also a current board member of the Saskatoon Council on Aging. And I really love the title of her presentation, Weebles Wobble, but they don't fall down, stay strong and balanced. Thanks, Kathy. Turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Janet, for the introduction. And thank you to the organizers and Cynthia and Virginia for coordinating this. This is great. I'm really excited to be part of this. And I think it was actually probably about 2 years ago that I had my grad student, Danelle, came to one of the Globe Walk presentations. I think we were at McClure, and talked about balance then as well. So it seems to be a topic that many people are interested in, and it's a passion for me. I spent a lot of time talking about balance. I'm very excited to share this presentation with you today. So I'm going to, if you bear with me for a minute, I'm going to share my screen. So you should see a presentation. I'm just gonna bring it into presentation mode. All right, so I'm hoping that everyone sees the screen that says Weebles Wobble, but they don't fall down, staying strong and balanced. And I don't know if someone can just unmute to let me know that it's
Kathy,
up.
it's fine. It's fine.
Great, thank you, Janet.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you again for the opportunity to be here today. And congratulations to all the Globe Walkers as well. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down, staying strong and balanced. I don't know if you're in the same age bracket as me, but Weebles was a Hasbro romper room toy. It was introduced in 1971. And if you now search for it, you can buy it as one of those collector's items on eBay or Amazon. I chose the title on purpose. It wasn't just because I remembered Weebles, but it's also because Weebles are really the ideal representation of explaining the concepts of how to optimize balance, which is what I want to focus on today. So the plan is I'm going to spend probably about 10 or 15 minutes sharing with you some concepts about balance and things that I think are important for you to understand in terms of optimizing your own balance. And then I'd like to move into some actual practice of balance. And that's always challenging remotely, but we're going to give it a shot anyway. And I'm going to talk you through 5 key exercises that I think are really important that you can easily do. So we're going to do a little short practice together. And then I'm going to end off leaving it really open for discussion and questions that come up so that I hopefully I can address what everybody here wants to know. It's great to see some familiar faces and see some familiar names out there. Some of you have participated in my programs and that's great. And others, I smile because I've known you for many years. So it's great to have so many people joining us today. All right, I'm going to just start off. I'm going to show you a video. It's on YouTube. And it really is a beautiful, I think, vision of Weebles and a support base where you can never fall. So I'm just going to run this for you. All right, so that was a beautiful kind of demonstration of being on a half sphere, kind of similar to a Weeble, where you have that body control to go so far out of that base, but always come back, and that would be the ideal situation. So what I wanted to cover are those mechanical basics of balance, and there's 3 main things that make balance optimal, and one is that area of support or the base. So it's whatever you're standing on, whatever touching the ground or the support surface. And so for Weebles and that half sphere dance, it's large and it's very wide and controlled and stable. For us as humans, that's certainly different. Often it's our feet, and I'm going to talk about those differences in a second. The second main point is that the body weight is low to the ground. And so Weebles are designed that way. They've got that weight, it's concentrated at the very base and it's very low to the ground. And the final thing is that body weight is centered near the middle of the base of support. So it concentrates that weight near the middle and it never gets near the periphery. And so that's why Weebles are so stable. So humans are different, and I've got a contrasting picture here. And so if you see the figures A, B, and C, and the person standing there on base of support, which is the feet, which is relatively small for sure. The advantage, of course, is that for us, we can move. And so Weebles don't move, they stay in one spot. So the risk that we take in being mobile creatures is that ultimately there's more risk to bounce and falling. But there is that kind of base of support with the feet. And you see the gray cone in A, which is considered what we call our envelope of safety, or a sway kind of envelope. And if you look at the B picture, it's got a smaller envelope in there. And that's that envelope. If you know, when you're just standing still, you're never completely still. There's always some movement. You're always kind of swaying a little bit. And some people sway more than others, but there's always that, you know, little shifting. But you're always still within the safety zone, okay? You're always still swaying within a boundary that is safe, that you wouldn't fall or you wouldn't have to restore your balance. It's when you start to shift outside of that safety zone. So if you look in C, and now all of a sudden you're shifting past that envelope of safety, and that's where you're either, you know, going to fall, or you would have to do something to bring yourself back. And sometimes that's, you know, reaching your arms out, or bringing yourself back into that safety zone. So our center of mass, if you look where the red dot is, well, we're not close to the ground. We're, you know, we're fairly high, and depending on your body size, it might be a little bit different for different individuals. Usually for humans, that center of body mass is located right in the pelvic area. So for women, it's usually a little bit higher because our body type, we have a little bit more weight on top. So for women, it's usually just slightly below the belly button, and for men, it's typically a little bit lower than that. So that's where our center of mass is in terms of height. So there's not too much we can do about that. We can sometimes, you know, bend our knees a little bit or bring ourselves lower by changing our position. So sitting, obviously, our body weight is closer to that support surface than when we're standing. The other thing that's really important, though, is where it is in terms of the middle. And so in figure A, that center body mass is right in the middle of the base of support, and we're stable. In figure C, it's now shifted outside of the base of support, and that's where you've got to compensate. And that's where a lot of things that we can do internally, like muscle strength and mobility and posture, can really make a difference, because very subtle things can change how that center body mass shifts closer to the periphery. And I'm going to give you some examples of that. So again, those are the three, you know, main things that control balance: is that base of support and where our center of body mass is in relation to the base of support, the height, and where it is middle or at the periphery. So not all is lost. No, we are not Weebles, we are humans, and so things are different, but that doesn't mean we can't increase our stability. So just reinforcing some concepts that I said, we can increase the size of our base of support. So even if we're standing on our 2 feet, we can widen our stance, or we can make it bigger forward and front. We could use a walking aid like a cane or a walker that increases our base of support. We can influence where the center of weight is within the confines of our structure, so we can lower it a bit, and we can also keep it near the middle. And we can also train our bodies to be able to balance better. And we also can think smartly about all of these things and be prepared. So there's lots that we can do. So I could probably spend a whole half day or more talking about this slide, because balance is really complicated, and it's got a lot of complex interaction of factors that influence it. And I'm going to maybe give you an example of this, because this is often where we place the blame if we fall, or even if we don't fall and we catch our balance. And so, for example, I was out walking yesterday, and I recently moved to a new area of the city. I'm now in North Park, which I love. I mean, the walking here is wonderful. You can go along by the river, and there's lots of options. But one of the pathways that I navigate is through the tunnel that goes from North Park to City Park. And in that tunnel is a patch of ice, usually covered by water when I'm there mid-afternoon. And I know this, so I usually am, you know, very careful in how I step. I always have my dog with me because I'm walking with my dog. And yesterday, for whatever reason, I think I just didn't anticipate the ice underneath, and I felt myself slipping, and I could kind of see in my head myself landing on my backside, slamming my head on the cement and having a major injury. It all happens so fast that you just don't really have time to react. But I know what I did do was quickly, my arms reached out, and I managed to kind of control myself back and got myself back on my feet, and thankfully didn't have that fall. Now, as I thought about that, as I was walking back to the house, and I was thinking about the, you know, these complex interaction of factors, and I could have, you know, decide, okay, well, I did manage to stop that fall. How come? Was it because I was wearing my good solid hiking boots and I was able to, you know, maybe keep the traction and control myself? Was it because I quickly reacted and maybe my balance is pretty good and I got my arms out in time? Was it because maybe there was a little bit of gravel on that ice and it actually just gave me enough traction that I was able to recover? And so it's a whole bunch of things. And I think sometimes when we fall as well, and I hear this from stories that people say to me, you know, sometimes it's totally that patch of ice was to blame. Other times people say to me, well, it was my fault. You know, I probably wasn't wearing the right shoes, or, you know, my balance is off. Or, you know, I was actually looking at my cell phone at the same time, and, you know, maybe it was that multitasking that caused it. So we're constantly seeking for the reasons why. And I think what I'm trying to say to you today is that it's usually a complex interaction of all of those. It's never one thing that is the causing factor. It's usually a connection of many different things. Some of those we can control and we can learn from experience, and sometimes we just can't because it was, you know, a patch of ice and there was nothing we could do about it. So I wanted to just talk about each of those and what can we control. And so the first is the task. So most commonly, when we lose our balance and falls, we are usually multitasking, and that's just reality in life. It's very rare that we are just absolutely focused on walking. You know, often we're combining, we're thinking about something, we may be talking to someone, we may be looking at a bird, you know, so that multitasking is what happens a lot. I gave you 3 examples in this picture about how the task very subtly changes your balance. And so in this particular picture is looking at one thing, which is how it changes where the weight distribution is based on carrying something. So if you look in figure A, and the fellow has got a child on his shoulders, that substantially increases the weight to be higher up in relation to the base of support. So this is going to make you more unstable, and you're going to have to correct in some way to accommodate that. So, you know, that situation has changed stability quite a bit. A purse, carrying a purse, and you may think, well, my purse doesn't weigh very much, but it doesn't really matter. It's going to shift your weight towards the side of what you're carrying on, and that's automatically going to change your balance and how to compensate. So if you had someone then give you a push towards the side where you're carrying your purse, you're going to be less stable, and you'd have to, you know, correct yourself probably differently than if it was centered. Carrying a bag across your shoulder or carrying a knapsack that's more central would keep your body mass more central and more stable. Carrying something in front of you. So the woman in part C there is carrying books in front. And so that shifts your body weight forward. In combination with that, she's also wearing heels. And so that also shifts your body weight forward. And again, you'd have to compensate to bring your center of body mass more into the center. It's going to make you more unstable, particularly in the forward direction. So if that woman tripped with the books, she's going to really have trouble correcting that fall. And so the take-home message here is what you carry, what you do affects your ability to balance. So really think about that and compensate and be prepared. So sometimes you really need to, so for example, walking outdoors right now, you really have to focus on the task of walking without, you know, having some other distractor that may impact being able to focus on that. Individual factors, well, there's hundreds of them. A lot of them are focused around your strength and mobility and posture. I've given one example here, which is what you wear, and specifically I've put footwear as an example. And this is just showing wearing high heels and how that changes the weight distribution. And I mentioned that in the other slide, but a 3-inch heel, you know, I don't know that many of us wear 3-inch heels anymore, but it actually shifts about 76% of your body weight onto your forefoot versus the whole foot. And so now you've really changed your base of support and where that weight is centered. Taking care of your feet. So feet also give you feedback in terms of the support surface. So making sure that your feet are well cared for and any concerns are addressed, that your vision is optimal. We use our vision a lot actually to balance, and hearing and sensory systems. So all of those are factors that impact balance. And then finally, the environment. Well, it's Saskatchewan, so I say more. I've put a little phrase there, get your winter tires on. So I know for myself, I can admit this as well, is that sometimes I think I take better care of my car than I do my own body. And when I think of in the fall, I'm usually very concerned about when do I get the winter tires on. I don't want to be stuck with that first snowfall and I don't have my winter tires on and ice. Make sure they've got the good traction and that everything's set. Well, do I do that same thing for my winter boots, which are my tires for my body? Do I check them? Do I look at the traction? There's some recommendations that we should be changing our winter boots every year to make sure that they have good, strong traction. And in the springtime, right now I am thinking, when should I get my winter tires off the car? No, I don't want to do that until the ice is gone. Well, it's the same thing with your shoes. And I'm gonna just dip down for a minute, and I'm hoping you can still see me, but I've got these are my boots that I wear right now. They're my hiking boots. Sorry, they're not very clean. And I don't wear anything but this outside right now. So even if I'm just going to the garage and I know all I'm going to do is then walk to the grocery store from the car, I still am wearing my hiking boots. So I'm not pulling out my summer flip-flops and pull-on shoes yet. And the other concept around environment is the being careful about how you walk. And I've got Walk Like a Penguin. It's a little acronym that you see out there. Penguins walk on ice all the time. Taking short steps, planting your feet consciously, keep your eyes on the path, a wide base, toes slightly pointed out, and bend your knees, keep your hands out of your pockets. There's actually a video, it's through University of Alberta and Alberta Health Services, and I'm just gonna go to that for a sec because it actually explains it much better than I could. So I'm just going to run this for you. All right, so take home message from those three things. Beware of the interaction of those factors, the individual, the task, the environment, yourself, your decisions, the choices you make in the environment you are in can all impact balance and risk of falling. So balance can be trained, and so that is one of the reasons I would suspect many of you are joining us today and wanting to know how to do that. It needs practice to be maintained. So I actually was just reading an article yesterday. It was a review of many, many studies that have been done on different balance interventions. And the conclusion from that was that ideally, you should spend at least 3 hours per week doing some kind of activity that purposefully challenges your balance. So that could be things, different activities like Tai Chi or yoga, even if it's chair yoga, does challenge balance. Walking does challenge your balance as well, but just walking is not enough to improve balance and decrease fall risk. You need to add in other things into your schedule. Keeping active and getting an assessment if needed. And I'm a physical therapist, so certainly I've put that in there. There are other, I think, individuals who can help you out as well in terms of balance, for sure. But if you're having struggles, you should get someone to assess and tell you, what is it specifically where you should be working on. And the other point I'll just make is getting help after situations that change balance. So things like being in the hospital, even if it's just a short period of time and you may be, in bed for periods of time, you can lose strength and balance fairly quickly. If you've had a joint replacement, if you've had other orthopedic surgery, if you've had, glasses changes, vision changes, any inner ear concerns, dizziness, sometimes changes in new medications can alter balance. So being aware of those, and sometimes you may need to get some help in sorting that out. I've put it as an example, a balance improvement based on a study that I've done. And I think that some of you out there were involved in this study. It was an intervention we did at the field house, and we ran it for 12 weeks. It was twice per week and focused on balance and strength practice. And this is just one of the tests. It was a one-leg standing test where you stand on one leg and try to balance for up to 60 seconds on each leg. And this is the cumulative scores for men and women, the averages. And I'm just pointing this out that both men and women did improve in their balance by about 10 seconds in total, which is fairly substantial. And I think an important improvement to note. So it doesn't take much to see a change in balance. And many of the stories that we heard indicated that people felt their balance did improve. So what I'm going to do, I've pulled together 5 exercises for us to try out together. If you don't feel comfortable trying them out today, that's fine. You can just sit and watch and absorb the information. If you feel safe and you've got a safe place that you can do this, and by safe I mean that you've got a chair close by or a wall that you can just touch lightly, and not a roller chair. So it should be a sturdy chair that's got legs. And I also would recommend, if you've got some shoes on, that's great, but generally don't do balance exercises with socks on. So if you want to get yourself ready and you can still hear me and get yourself in a position, I'll give you a second to do that. I've based this on a little acronym I pulled it together because it's spring and I chose plant. And also I think plant is a nice acronym for balance because you're planting yourself solidly on the ground. So the acronym, the 3 components are posture, leg strength, A for ankles, N for nucleus or core, and T for tandem and tree. So we're going to go to the first one. And I would just like to, I know that Howard and June are out there. I saw their names, so I just would say thank you to Howard and June for being models for some brochures and education that I've been using. They are great models. I considered trying to demonstrate this myself, but I think that they are show much better how to do some of these exercises. So thank you, June and Howard. So P for posture. So what I'd like you to do, if you're lightly touching your chair or against a wall, is a nice way to do this. And so if you see the picture on the left with June, she has her back to her wall, and the back is a nice reference point for correcting your posture. So in either position that you're in, what you're going to try and do is, first of all, just take a breath and then release it and let your shoulders relax down. So you're breathing in and release. And then as you release that breath, think tall. So you're reaching the crown of your head to the ceiling. You're gently tucking your chin. You're relaxing your shoulders down, and then slightly pinch them in. If you're got your back to the wall, you're pinching them towards the wall. Slightly pinching the shoulder blades. Belly slightly tucked in. And your feet are about shoulder width apart with slightly relaxed knees. Okay, so you're thinking about that posture, and you're going to just do 5 breaths doing that. So you're breathing in and releasing. And each time you're just trying to adjust your posture a little bit more. And you can sway a little bit. And you can see in the picture that June has there, she's swaying forward a little bit and then can sway back. And the picture with Howard on the right, he's doing it in sitting. So you can certainly do it in sitting as well. And it's the same concepts as, you know, reaching your chin up towards the ceiling, shoulders back, belly button tucked in. All right, so that is the first exercise, posture. And posture is key, and I can't stress enough how important it is for keeping that center of body mass in the middle. Posture can become a good habit or a bad habit. Either way, we adapt to it very quickly, and we also can correct it. All right, second main component, L is for leg strength. So one of the most important strength muscles for balance is the muscle at the front of the thigh, or the quadriceps, and the buttock muscles, or the hip extensor muscles. And these also are muscles that are really important for maintaining day-to-day function. Moving from sitting to standing is an activity that we use a lot during the day, just for function, for sure. But it's also a really good functional exercise that can be incorporated into day-to-day work practice. Sorry, I didn't need to move that forward. It's also a test that we use. So it is a test for fall risk. One test that I use is how many times can someone move from sitting to standing in 30 seconds. And there are some normative values there, and some numbers where they link it to fall risk. So for women aged 65 to 69, you should be able to safely do 11 chair stands going from sitting to standing in 30 seconds. For men, it's 12. Age 80 to 84, at least 10 for men, 9 for women. So those just give you a little bit of ballpark. Doesn't mean you need to, you know, rapidly do this. And sometimes a really good way to just practice strengthening is to slow it down. But what I'd like you to try is, if you are sitting in your chair right now, there is an important way to do this correctly. And again, I reinforce that the chair, it shouldn't be a roller chair. It should be a chair that's firmly on the ground. You shuffle yourself forward slightly in your chair so that the front edge of the chair is about halfway on your thighs. Then you're just going to tuck your toes so they're under your knees. Your feet are a fairly good wide base of support, so they're about shoulder width apart. And then what you do to stand is you're going to lean forward at the hips, not at the back, but at the hips. And you're bringing your nose over your knees. So you can see in the second picture for June there, she's got her nose over her knees. Her hands are just lightly on her thighs. Don't press hard on your knees. Or she could have put them on the arms of a chair if you've got armrests to push off, or you can push off from the chair. So if you're able to not use your arms at all, that's great. That's a little more challenging for balance. Once you get your nose over your knees, then you slowly bring yourself up to a full stand and get your balance. And then the reverse is just the reverse. You bend your knees, push your bottom back towards the chair, reaching your hands towards the chair to make sure you can safely lower yourself down. So that's basic sit to standing, and just practicing that 5 times in a row as a start point if you can, to really work on getting those legs strong. So that it's a leg strengthening, but it's also a really good balance practice. Okay, A is for ankles. So ankles are our balancer. We do, and there's balance reactions that happen different parts of our body, but ankles are often one of the main ones that, you know, we're trying to just quickly correct or get our balance back. So maintaining ankle mobility is important, and ankle strength. So this is an activity just moving forward on heels and toes. So you can do it in standing, again, lightly touching the wall or a chair. Or if you don't feel comfortable and you don't feel stable enough in standing, you can also do ankle movement and strengthening in sitting. And so June on the far right is just pulling her toes up and then pointing her toes down. So that's another option. So that ankle movement is just a rocking forward. So going from heels to toes and back, heels to toes. All right, N is for nucleus or core. I had to find an N word, so nucleus it was. But the core, the strength of your abdominals and your back muscles is important for balance. And actually there's even newer research coming out really reinforcing that. I've chosen, there's different exercises certainly to do for core. But what I've chosen here is something that also works on arm strength, and it's an exercise that I've been adding into my programs as it relates also to controlling a forward fall descent. But it's really a reverse push-up against the wall, and it's pretty easy for anybody to do. So you're just standing a little bit away from the wall with your hands up on the wall at about shoulder height. And you're keeping your body as a plank. And so as you're lowering down and you're bending your elbows and bringing nose towards the wall, you're keeping your feet firmly planted on the floor. And this is where shoes are really important so you don't slip. And you're bringing your nose to the wall, controlling with your arms, and then pushing back up. You can add challenges to that. There's lots of things you could do. You could stand a little further from the wall. That makes it harder. You could do it one-handed versus two-handed. So there's certainly ways that you can challenge that a little bit more as well. And then T is for tandem and tree. So tandem is a tandem stand with one foot directly in front of the other. And tree, I'm using that as like a one-leg balance. You can start out in ways that make this easier for you. So you may find that tandem stand, one foot in directly in front of the other, is too difficult right now. So you might just stagger your feet with one foot out a little bit more. Maybe it's not directly in front. Again, using a wall for support or a chair. The reason the tandem is important for balance is it challenges that side-to-side balance. So when we get disrupted or start to fall sideways, we need that correction and strength of the side-to-side movement. So this is a nice way to challenge that. And make sure you do it with practicing first the right foot in front and then the left foot in front. So once you get yourself into that tandem stand, you're trying to hold that position. And ideally, I would try to go up to 30 seconds if you can. And if that's too easy for you, you can also add in more challenges where, maybe you're reaching your arms up or you're moving your upper body a little bit, closing your eyes, and that really challenges the balance in a different way. The one leg stand or the tree stand is shifting weight onto one foot, trying to balance on that one foot, and then shifting back to the other one and balancing. And you might only be able to just lift your your big toe off the ground just to start. And then maybe you can work towards, up to a full minute balancing on one leg. Ideally, for fall risk, you should be able to balance on one leg for up to 10 seconds. So that's a really good goal to try to work towards. All right, so I'm going to wrap up and open it up for questions. Oh, sorry, I have gone a little bit further into time, but hopefully we'll have some time for questions. So final messages. So apply those basics of balance, optimize your base of support, lower and center your body weight. And under certain situations like ice, you can use those principles and the penguin principles. Respect the complex interaction of you, the task, the environment. Be prepared and alert and think safe, and plant yourself. So I've given you some examples of exercises that you could do on your own. And there's lots of different programs available. Unfortunately, some of them are not running right now in the pandemic, but SCOA can give you certainly options that are available as things start to open up. Stay active and get help when needed. So again, congratulations, Globe Walkers. I was on the website, 916 participants so far walked and 207,809 kilometers. That's great. And I really congratulate SCOA on their efforts to run this. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see everybody.
Perfect. Thank you, Kathy. So if anyone has any questions, I'm going to ask you to put them into the chat now and you'll find the chat at the bottom of your screen, and Kathy will answer them for you. It's wonderful to have such an expert at our fingertips. It's been really, really interesting, Kathy. I really like your how you've sort of simplified some of the exercises that people should be able to do and sort of work into their daily lives. And I like the acronym PLANT. It actually is a really good way of remembering some of those things to do. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, Enid and Bill would like you to maybe comment on the use of walking poles.
Sure. Yeah, so walking poles, certainly people have used walking poles. They can be for stability, they can be for exercise, depending on how you're using them. I'd say probably a lot of people use them for stability, and they do offer that. They're another base of support to add to your base and ability to control. So I encourage, if you get walking poles, make sure you get some guidance on how to use them correctly, because sometimes I see people out there and it doesn't look all that safe. They may not be using them the way they should be, and they should be used as a pair. So if you've got walking poles, you should be using two, not just one. So yeah, I mean, walking poles are certainly a good option.
Very good. And I know they're really good on ice too, Kathy. Some of them have that graphite end on them too that can really help sort of on the ice. Okay, so Jackie is wondering what things might attribute to a fall other than balance?
That's a good question. Yeah, well, certainly falls can happen for many reasons. So sometimes a fall happens because there's some medical situation. So for example, you may pass out for whatever reason. You may get dizzy because of might be a medication, it may be a quick position change. It's not all to do with balance. There's certainly other things that happen. And I mean, environment is another situation that, sometimes within the environment or that patch of ice or something they trip over, there may be no way that anybody, no matter how good your balance is, can actually recover yourself. So, balance is probably one of the biggest internal factors that's controllable, but not all falls are completely controllable by balance.
Very good. And Jane has just said that she found the Forever in Motion archive classes on the Forever in Motion Facebook page really helpful for her to keep exercising during the pandemic.
Oh,
And
great. Yeah,
yeah,
that's good. And Jane, I think that might be something, if it isn't shared already, to do so, because forever the Staying on Your Feet program right now is not able to run. So, you know, any options that are out there for people to link in remotely, I think is helpful.
and sort of having been personally involved years ago, I know that there's certainly some fall prevention balance type of exercises as part of that program. So yeah, good. Okay. Anyone else? And Penny says, excellent presentation. I attend a Tai Chi program 3 times a week and have to say how much it has helped my balance. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, Tai Chi is one of those activities that is really focused on balance, and there's been quite a bit of research on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kathy, I think you were involved in research with yoga as well. And is that also a good activity for balance?
Yes, yeah, it is. So we just finished a study on yoga. It was for women age 50 to 70, and we did see improvements in balance and strength with that program. So yes, definitely yoga is a good option too. You know, it's finding that, again, and just like anything, it's finding the right class for you. And there are lots of options for sure in the city. I have found actually there's a lot on YouTube that's yoga related that I'm finding I can just do at home too. So yeah.
Very good. Are there special ones for older adults? Do you know, Kathy, in your researching or you're searching through?
Yeah, you know, we're actually producing a video right now of the class that we ran, and we had the original filming had to be delayed. We were going to do it in November, so we've now got it scheduled in May because we just couldn't get on campus to do it. I haven't really come across one specific for older adults, but there are gentle, you know, there's quite a few gentle yoga options out there that I think you have to kind of look and see and you know, find something that you think is a good fit for you.
Right, and Mary Kay said chair yoga is really good for older people too. So that is a good option. Thanks for that. And Darlene is wondering if it's possible to obtain the photos of the exercises presented today. I think this whole presentation is being recorded. I'm pretty sure it is. I see the recording button going. So so those will definitely be on the website.
I would also say there's a brochure that we developed a couple of years ago on balance exercise, and that was presented as part of the Globe Walk presentation. And I think, Janet, we also shared a PDF with Remembering When. So
yes.
I could, I think what we can do is make that available through SCOA, and I'll just make sure that SCOA does have a PDF version that could be shared remotely for anybody who wants it, because I believe most of the exercises are there. And I think we can certainly share this presentation, and then you've got the pictures of the 5 exercises as well.
Okay, so we'll get that PDF version onto the Globe Walk website then under resources. I think would be a good place for it. And also the website for Forever in Motion is on the chat feature there. So if you want to have a look at that, that's great. Well, I think I'm going to kind of finish up here. We're running close to 2 o'clock. So I think hopefully that's the end of the questions. And if not, Kathy, I think you were going to leave your contact information just in case anybody wanted to contact you after. I think we talked about that, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to put it in the chat right now.
Okay, perfect.
I'll put my email address.
Okay.
And yes, certainly I'm willing. Anybody who wants to contact me certainly can do so.
Very good. Okay. So thank you so much again. That was really interesting. I love the visuals too. That really added to the presentation. Okay. Well, I wonder where I've gone. Doesn't matter. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. So I'd like to remind you all of the next Globe Walk event on Wednesday, April the 21st at 1 p.m. And Cynthia has just confirmed that Louise Halve, Poet Laureate, will be sharing 2 poems that she's specifically written for Globe Walk, which is pretty amazing. And we're actually going to have a demonstration on chair yoga. So it'll be a continuation of today. And so I hope that you'll join us for that. Again, it's going to be virtual. You will be forwarded information from your captain on how to register, and you'll be sent a link on Zoom from that. And otherwise, if you don't get that, please make sure that you go to the SCOA Globe Walk website and register from there. We're also planning to have a virtual celebration of Globe Walk on May the 7th at 1 o'clock. And we hope that you're going to mark this special event on your calendars and join us that afternoon. It promises to be a very fun event. We're also doing some planning for Globe Walk next year and would really value any ideas that you have for a possible theme. And you can forward those great ideas to Amy, or Lauren Amy, our Globe Walk coordinator. So Kathy, again, thanks for taking time out of your day to spend with us and highlighting the importance of balance to decrease falls. Thank you also to Cynthia and Lauren and Virginia for your help behind the scenes today to make this event go seamlessly, and to all of you for joining us.